Hello, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on what part of the day you're listening to this new episode of Data-Driven Formula One. My name is Patrick Henz, and today we have an outlook on the 2026 Formula One season. First, what has changed, the two main changes, and after this, we will compare the predictions of three large language models: Google's Gemini, Microsoft's Copilot, and Mistral, and see what are the predictions, who should win based on the data, win the championship. And it will be quite interesting because the results are a little bit different. But first, let's start in the beginning. And I think this Formula One championship year, the 2026 season, will be poised to be one of the most unpredictable ones in recent memory. And this thanks to sweeping new technology regulations like new power unit suppliers having an expanded grid. And based on the latest data from last year seasons, also already including the winter testing results and expert commentary, the three large language model will come to its conclusions. So we are not using the standard setup where you enter the question and practically seconds later you have the answer. We will use the deep sync function, the researcher function, etc. So the large language model really crawl through all the databases and come to the conclusions. And this takes normally between 5 and 10 minutes. So we will see how this will end up. But before we come to this, what are these new regulations? And practically there are two major changes. First, the power units. We have now MGUK units, which MGUK stands for kinetic energy recovery. So each time the driver brakes, this creates energy to charge the power units. And due to this, the output jumps from 160 horsepower to 470, while the internal combustion engine's output had been reduced from last year's 850 HP to around 540. So now we have roughly a 50-50 split between electric and combustion power and the removal of the MGOH, the exhaust energy recovering system. And this really marks a radical shift in power unit design and also of driving style. I think it was Max Verstappen who said the new Formula One cars are like Formula E on speed. So really we are going much more to electric vehicles or hybrid vehicles as we have them on the streets. And of course, this also aligned with marketing purposes as practically all the big manufacturers in Formula One also sell hybrid or even electric cars. Ferrari is in the process to launch its first electric vehicle. Already the actual F90 or other models are hybrid. Of course, Mercedes has hybrid, has electric cars. Same is valid for Honda and Ford too. So it follows, the general tendency a little bit away from pure combustion engines, going to hybrid or even electric car. Not all drivers are happy, and not all the fans are happy, as of course a lot of us, we still would love to see and hear 12-cylinder engines, but that's the way it is. The result of these power units is that they can harvest twice as much energy per lap and deploy 3 times more electrical power than before last year. Managing the battery energy has become crucial. Drivers can recharge heavily under braking but deplete the battery in half a straight, forcing them to carefully balance where to push and where to save energy, something which we discussed all over this podcast. Even if we had Formula One races in the late 1940s. Of course, Formula One in the 50s, 60s, 70s is something completely different than Formula One in the 2020s, which not only requires different racetracks, different cars, but also the drivers are different. So based on a skill set which makes you successful in 2026 is completely different than the skill sets you needed to be successful in the 1950s, for example. And with this, we come to the other change of regulations. We have now active aerodynamics. Traditional DRS is gone, replaced by a dual mode wing system. Informally, this is dubbed as the X mode for long drag and the Z mode for high downforce. Drivers can switch modes throughout a lap to optimize straight line speed for corner and grip, introducing new strategy complexity to races. This change, combined with shorter, lighter cars, for example, the wheelbase had been reduced by 200 millimeter and the weight went down around 30 kilograms, means that teams had to redesign the cars substantially. And again, drivers need another skill set to be successful. Also, something which we discussed in an earlier episode, maybe having more electric, more high-tech car with a lot more electronic, etc. This may favor drivers which have been grown up learning Formula One on the PlayStation and are used to simulators. So maybe this may change in future a little bit how you come to Formula One. Maybe you start with esports and then switch to physical sports instead of the classic kart, Formula 3, Formula 2, etc. paths, which can reduce a little bit the cost factor and make the sports available for kids not coming from a rich family background. So these are a little bit the changes. And now the interesting part, as mentioned, we will compare the results from three known large language models. First, the Gemini from Google, then Microsoft, the Copilot, and last but not least, the French computer Mistral, to see what they are predicting for what will be the outcome of this season. They are similar, but there are changes, even whom they predict to win the Drivers' Championship. So, first, Gemini, and I said, as mentioned, not the normal setup, but we use really the DeepSeek function. So, Gemini created an extended 13 pages report why they come to their conclusions, and this takes about 10 minutes. So let's, as normally known, we start with position number 10. And here we have Alex Albon, Williams, Mercedes, and this as he's a constant point scorer, and Williams with Mercedes power for this comes Gemini to the conclusion he will be on position number 10. Of course, a bold prediction, as we saw that Williams had to skip the first trainings in Barcelona. But even with this included, Gemini thinks Williams, they can really close the gap in testing and will have a quite good year. And this reflects also the 9th position. Here, Gemini predicts Carlos Sainz, the other Williams driver. Number 8. And here we have Lewis Hamilton. Google thinks, yeah, he will be more successful than last year, but this will not have a big effect on the overall standings. So they say this him still behind Charles Leclerc, which, by the way, this aligns also with the other two models, and again, only an 8th position for Lewis Hamilton. A little bit a surprise on the 7th position from my point of view. Fernando Alonso with the Honda-powered Aston Martin. So far in the testing, Aston Martin struggled, so it doesn't seem that they will be competitive right in the beginning. But another important point I see, due to the changes, I think we will have a lot of changes from the beginning to the end. So the teams which have been maybe not be competitive in the first races will be able to close the gap maybe in the middle of the season, or in the other way around, the ones leading in the first races may not the ones leading at the final races. Considering all of this, including Alonso's experience, he is the predicted number 7 by Gemini. On 6, Andrea Kimi Antonelli with the Works Mercedes. The talented young driver should have a good season, and this is also predicted by all the models, as they see the Works Mercedes much stronger than in the last years. So number 6, Andrea Kimi Antonelli. 5, Max Verstappen with the Red Bull. So even though with all the experience of winning 4-time the World Championship, considering losing their chief designer, having a new hybrid powered car with a Ford engine, Ford now for first time after long years back in Formula One. The large language model don't predict Max Verstappen as a favorite for winning the title. Number 5 at Gemini. Number 4, Charles Leclerc with the Ferrari. All large language model predict Ferrari to be stronger than in the last years, but not completely at the top. And this would be a little bit where I see Ferrari stronger than the large language models. I think they are not the top favorite, but I think they could be a contender based on the speed and also on the number of laps they achieved in the testing sessions. So I think Ferrari will be at the top, meaning they will be able to compete. We will see if it would be enough to win races, win championship, but all large language models see Ferrari much stronger than the last years. Number 3, Oscar Piastri with McLaren Mercedes. Very strong season 2025. And even though to the shown talent and the a higher level of experience, thanks to last year, the large language model don't see Oscar Piastri as the number 1 driver at McLaren. I personally see Oscar Piastri on the same level, at least with Lando Norris. So I would see him stronger than just position 3, at least if we see where Norris will be. So, and here as a human, I would think Oscar Piastri again will be more or less on the same level than Lando Norris. So he could be one of the top competitors for the title too. Number 2 is George Russell with the Mercedes, the number 1 driver at Mercedes. Again, if we see the results, Bahrain, Barcelona, we can assume Mercedes will be much stronger and on, on a level very near to McLaren, maybe a little bit behind, maybe on the same level, maybe a little bit more. There were the results of the large language models, but I think Mercedes will be definitely back to fight for victories and even the championship. Okay, no big surprise. Number one, Lando Norris, McLaren, together with Mercedes, will be the number one contender, and we will see if it will be enough to win the championship again. But of course, one of the big favorites. So far, Google's Gemini. And with this, we are coming to Microsoft and their Copilot. Again, also here, the analytics model created an extended report, 19 pages, but we will focus on the prediction of the top 10. And also here, we will start with number 10. And here, Microsoft's Copilot has different opinions than Gemini, because here we see on position number 10, Esteban Ocon for Haas. Haas was indeed a positive surprise. What means surprise? They have been already quite successful in the 2025 season. So Copilot sees them also quite strong in 2026, and this, of course, aligned with the positive testing results. And here, number 10, Esteban Ocon Haas. Also here, a different name, Copilot number 9, Nico Hülkenberg with the new Audi team. Of course, former Sauber, but nevertheless, new engine, a lot of changes in the team, but of course, Nico Hülkenberg, very experienced and very fast drivers. And Copilot says, yes, he can make it position number 9 in 2026 for the Hulk. Number 8, Isaac Hadjar, Red Bull Racing. And here, Copilot also thinks that the second team, so to say, from Red Bull the second driver from Red Bull this time will be much closer to Max Verstappen. This in opposite practically to the last 2 years, but that's what Copilot predicts as results for 2026. 7, Andrea Kimi Antonelli, again, also this large language models predict a good year for Antonelli, maybe or a little bit more skeptical, because if you have a strong car, then the works Mercedes, maybe you would think he would be a little bit higher, but so here's quite skeptical here, Copilot, only to see him on position number 7. Number 6, also quite pessimist, Oscar Piastri for McLaren. But we will see which of the large language models and will be right and who not, or maybe none of them will be right. Definitely, we will revisit these reports after this season, or maybe also we did a special episode like in the middle of the season. Number 5. Here, Copilot is more optimistic than Gemini. Lewis Hamilton for Ferrari, second year for Hamilton at Ferrari, so he should have been more involved in the technical development of the car. With this, the car should feel better for him, and he should feel better inside the car. And for this, more positive predicted results for Lewis Hamilton. Number 4. Lando Norris, McLaren. So Gemini says Lando Norris will win the championship. Copilot says Sorry, no, just the fourth position for Lando Norris and the McLaren. This brings us to number 3, and here the AI system sees Charles Leclerc as, and all the large language models predict Leclerc as the faster, or at least the one with scoring more points at the Ferrari. So number 3 predicted large Charles Leclerc, and Copilot uh, considers maybe a little bit more the driver than the car, because it sees Max Verstappen, which I predict also for 2026 to be the strongest driver. This will not mean that he will be the most successful one, because it's a combination driver car, but much Copilot sees a much stronger Max Verstappen, so he will be on the number 2. And now, no surprise, who is left? George Russell with the works Mercedes, predicted to win the 2026 championship. This based on Russell's driving skills, but also again to a much stronger Mercedes car than we saw in the years before. Okay, that's Microsoft. And with this, we're coming to the French computer Mistral, quite new large language model. And we will also here we used an analyst function. It's not as detailed, the reports, as the other two, so just 6 pages, but we will see what are the predictions for the top 10. And here, starting with number 10, Nico Hülkenberg, Audi. In opposite to the other models, Mistral gives me here also a prediction for the point range, key strengths, potential risks. So Mistral sees 120 to 150 points for the Hulk, key strengths, experience, and due to this podium potential. So the big strengths here is the driver. Of course, the risk, it's a new team, and there may be always issues with reliability. Then number 9, a different name, Olli Biermann for Haas, predicted points 150 to 180. And of course, Olli Biermann had a very strong season last year. So his key strengths: strong qualifying, race speed, potential risks, team's mid-season drop off as a small team with a limited budget. So the car is a little bit more the risk factor, even though the car looked quite impressive in the testing so far. Number 8, Fernando Alonso, Aston Martin, Honda. In this case, predicted 180 to 210 points. Experience, racecraft, resilience, of course, the strong points. Problem is the car competitive, and age factor, as yes, Fernando Alonso is still very strong, but maybe a little bit beyond his zenith. Number 7, Kimi Antonelli, works Mercedes, 200 to 230 points predicted. Strength, speed, and for this, potential for podiums, risks, inexperience, and interesting car reliability of the Mercedes due to Mistral. Number 6, Lewis Hamilton, Ferrari, predicted 250 to 280. Strong points, experience, racecraft, adaptability. Also here, risk, age, still not completely adapted to the team, and car issues. We will see. Number 5, here we have Charles Leclerc with the second Ferrari, predicted 280 to 310 points. Strong points. He won races in the past, very constant drivers, and even if still quite young, a lot of experience. Question marks Ferrari's car performance, even though it looked quite strong in testing, but testing and season are often sometimes something completely different, especially with Ferrari, and also here reliability of the new Ferrari with a lot of changed concept as you saw, for example, the flipping rear wing. So reliability is a question mark for Mistral. Then we come to George Russell, predicted by Copilot as the winner. Mistral says, no, sorry, just fourth position. Predicted 320 to 350 points. Strong points, victories in the past, very consistent driver, also strategically. Car reliability and the teammate rivalry are risk factors for George Russell based on Mistral. Number 3, Oscar Piastri, McLaren, predicted 400 to 430 points. Strong points, his qualifying pace, also, of course, the pace in the race itself, victories in the past, very high adaptability. On the other hand, risk factors, he is a young driver, so there are pressure of expectations, and consistency may be a question mark for Piastri. Number 2, Max Verstappen, Red Bull Ford, seen as number 2 by Mistral, 420 to 450 points. Of course, strong points, all his experience, won victories, championship, and his speed. Potential risk, new teammate integration and teammate which may be closer to him than he is known from the last years. So this is a small question mark, and of course reliability of the Red Bull and the new Ford engine. Same as Gemini, also Mistral sees Lando Norris as the predicted winner of the season. He could achieve 450 to 480 points, key strengths, consistent podiums, and strong racecrafts. Potential risks, of course, the team dynamics, having a second driver very near your own level, and the changed regulations may be a risk for Lando Norris. Okay, so these are what AI is predicting. Important to know, when is AI strong, when AI is stronger than the human. This is in a stable world scenario. This is the reason why first AI started to win against us humans in chess. Then we have other board games like Go, so games with a high number of potential scenarios, potential moves, but nevertheless quite limited. Besides this, after this, AI became more successful in video games, starting with the early games like in the 1980s to actual video games. And also quite interesting, AI defeated us also in games like poker. So games, yes, with a limited number of scenarios, limited number of cards, but also including human psychology. So AI learned how to play the cards and read the humans. As mentioned at the beginning, we have new regulations, so this season will be very difficult to predict. And due to this, it's questionable how good the large language models included all these factors. So for this, I'm very curious how good AI is doing in a scenario this is difficult to predict as Formula One with the new 2026 regulations. And due to this, I plan to go back to these reports in the mid-season and, of course, at the end of the season to see who did it better, the human or the machine. I commented already a little bit through the results, so I would see, and I completely agree with all the three models, Mercedes will be stronger. Also, Ferrari will be stronger. I even could imagine Ferrari closer to Mercedes and McLaren. So I think somebody from these three teams will win the championship. But of course, you always may have somebody surprising us. And of course, this is what we want to see in sports. We don't want to see results as predicted, but we want to have the outsiders coming in, having changing weather, bringing everything in disorder, etc. So we will really have something where we can emotionally involved instead of being just a mathematically observer. Okay, that's all for today. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you do so, please follow us on Spotify, on YouTube video, all other platforms where you can follow us. Of course, if you like it, please like this episode. If you want, please comment. And with this, have a nice rest of the day and see you the next time. Bye bye.